All right, in this video, I'm going to discuss how I autolyse my bread the night before, the ratios I use in my flour and my water, some of the tools and the techniques that I use, and how I just go about getting my shaggy mess, as they call it. So first things first, I usually do an 80% hydration. That means I'm going to do for a 1,000 grams of flour, I'm going to do 800 grams of water. Grams and milliliters are the same, so you could always do 800 milliliters of water. That also equals 800 grams. The metric system is fun. So for flour, typically what I use is I love to do a blend. I have a 10% blend of organic whole wheat flour and then 90% all-purpose organic flour. So it's hard to find organic bread flour. If I can, I'll always snag that because it'll rise better. You can do things like put in high gluten flour in as well, which will give you a better oven spring. There's lots of tricks that you can do to use all-purpose flour and get good results. I find with good technique, I also get good results. So I've already pre-mixed this. This is 1,000 grams total of flour. This is what we'll be using. This is going to make 2 loaves. And so then I have 800 grams of water. And typically what I find is I like to add the water to my mixing bowl first because it just creates a layer around the bowl that keeps it from sticking as much. So I'm just going to take this water and fill in 800 grams. And I'm not super picky. If I get it to $7.99 or $8.04, it's not the end of the world. If you're just getting started, I recommend doing less than 80%. Start around 70% and work your way up. 70% is going to be a little bit easier to handle when it's sticky and wet, but I've also found that the way that I make bread, it isn't as sticky and wet. I have a tactile thing where I don't like my hands super duper dirty or super full of muck, and so I guess I've figured out the way to make sourdough bread that I don't feel that way. So that brings me to this tool. So I got this tool off of Amazon. It's like some sort of European bread mixer, dough mixer. I absolutely love it. Some folks will tell you to get your hand in here and mix that all up. That just ain't for me. So I bought this tool. It works a lot better. I don't recommend doing this in a KitchenAid. You're just not going to get the same results, and you're going to work the hell out of your KitchenAid unless you have one of the commercial ones. So again, I've already pre-measured this, so I'm just pouring it in here to not create a big flour bomb. Once I get a good seal of flour on that water, pour the rest in. So we're doing the Autolyse, and we do this because it's going to allow the gluten to bond together overnight. And we do this because it's just a cheap way to make sure that you get really good dough and really good dough strength. Do you need to do it? No. I've made bread before. I follow the Food Geek, and he's always doing experiments in sourdough, and he's done some with and without Autolyse. And this guy is a master baker, and his looks exactly the same. Mine don't. I find that Autolysing really works for me. Plus, with my schedule, typically my son goes to bed at night, and then after he goes to bed, I'm doing this procedure. So if I was to try to do this the morning that I woke up around 6 o'clock and start doing this and adding in the sourdough starter, that would be miserable. I do not want to do this at 6 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock at night is much more reasonable for me. So I'm just moving it around, getting it all incorporated. I don't have the best wrists myself from years of waiting tables, so I'm the first one to say that using a tool like this is really helpful for me. And now that it's really starting to pull together, I like to use this backwards and forward motion, kind of get it to move around. If you can turn it over, always really helpful. But really what we're going for here is no flour pockets where there's going to be no water in there. And then we're also going for just like a totally solid consistency, no flour stuck on the sides of the walls. Really like this, how I can just push what I need down. So yeah, this is a great tool. Okay, so we're right where I like it, where I'll now just start to pull up from one side, bring it over, push it down. And this is just a really gentle way on my body to incorporate the, excuse me, to incorporate the dough. Typically this whole procedure, maybe 5 minutes mixing, probably less. I've never actually timed it. We'll know because of how long this video is, of course. But you know, measuring your flour, getting all that together, getting my water together. I do like to have my water a little bit warmer, around 80 degrees. Living in Tahoe in the winter and the spring, our tap water comes out around 50 degrees. And that's just, you know, there's enzymes in the bread you're trying to break down. And I find that they like warmer water, as does yeast in a sourdough starter. Not super hot, 80, 85 degrees is really as hot as I've ever gotten it. Too hot kills things. Too cold, things stay dormant. So just remember that yeast likes warm. Used to brew beer before I got into this, and I used to have to keep my yeast very, very happy. So happy yeast makes happy beer. Happy yeast makes great sourdough. So this is looking pretty darn good. I've got a nice shaggy mess, nothing sticking to the sides. Yeah, I like this. So, again, I'll wake up around 6 in the morning. It's around 9 o'clock right now, 9:15. And so this will have plenty of time to Autolyse. Now, if this isn't your schedule and you want to do this differently, I recommend Autolysing half an hour, 45 minutes, bare minimum. Anything longer is great. I've seen people Autolyse for up to a day. The guy from the Bread Code, the YouTube channel, big shout out. He's done tests where he's done this for days on days and it still makes great bread. But I like to do this overnight because it's just one less step in the morning when I'm groggy and I just want to mix up some sourdough. So there you have it.